Hello and welcome to Lost Legacy. This is our D&D live play, and we'll get into a recap after I introduce my players. Unfortunately, I'll remind everyone that Chris had to step away from the game due to life and work, and so Corfin is doing stuff that is affecting the games, but he is currently the player and character are not in the mix. But let's start with how I see it on my screen. So we will start with Rennie. Introduce yourself, what characters are playing, any projects or anything you're doing.
Hi everyone. My name is Rennie. I am playing Disbin Tenderfoot, Paladin of the Oath of Vigilance, a homebrew Paladin subclass that we made here on Unconventional Heroes. I am a Goblin, and fun fact about Dizzy. Um, After watching Reggie get a lot of attention by whining, he thought that was how you get attention from people. So for a period of his life, he whined like a dog to get attention from friends and family.
Perfect. Next, we'll do Norm.
Hey everybody, I'm Norm. I'll be playing Kellen, everybody's favorite rock gnome artificer. He likes to make things blow up. He's waiting just a little bit longer at his experience so he can really bring Kaboom to life with Fireball mainly. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great.
Wow.
No other fun facts. I was just casting a play, my local theater, Old Academy players, a play called The Dining Room, so I'll have more to come as it goes on, but we haven't even had our first rehearsal yet. Of course, I had to give them conflict dates, so I found reason to put extra Tuesdays as being unavailable. So hopefully I don't piss off my cast too much with that.
Just put in your rider, dude. And last but not least, Sam.
Oh, hello there. I'm Sam. I'm playing Odysseus Crosshook, our Dragonborn Death Cleric and General Causer of Mayhem and Sore vocal cords.
I mean, your vocal cord, my vocal cord's still fine.
Mine, definitely, yes. I don't project sore vocal cords through the internet, though if I could, that would be a...
Unless I have to roleplay
terrible
your embassy characters, and then I get the same. But
Wait, Sam, who made that choice? Remind me. Remind the party.
If I had to really think about it and assign primary responsibility to one person, it would have to be Reggie.
Wow. But you know what? But we all know all dogs are good dogs because all dogs go to heaven, so it can't be that. It can't be that bad.
See, not all dogs go to heaven. In that movie, there are bad dogs. There are devil dogs.
It doesn't matter. They all go to heaven. All right. But I am your GM, Gino, or Gene. And let's get into a little bit of a recap. It's been a while because we have crazy schedules. You know, I work a lot. Norm's in plays. Rennie also works a lot, and Sam has kids and works a lot. So all that stuff, it makes it so getting 3 people together is still just as hard as getting 4. But anyway, so last we left off, our heroes finally made it to the Bastion of the Strong, where they met with brother, father, Master Thaddeus, kind of the head monk and teacher and paladin of the Order of the Vigilance. There, they were treated to a meal. They met with Nadia and Norm, not our player, but the character, Norander. And they said that we had done research and we have some options for you to travel to. And also, we kind of had to figure out what to do about this ancient primordial, where they were like, we could try to capture it again, or we could try to defeat it. But again, it was a little bit of a, well, it didn't work last time, so what are we going to do about it now? During this time, hold on one second. During this time, as our characters, spoke and talked, people were getting some strange vibes from the armored statue in the entranceway to the bastion. After eating, during one of the nights, during the first night, Odysseus, it caught his eye, this strange vibe. He went to examine the statue and kept feeling weird. And the moment he reached out to touch it, something strange happened. The object of legacy he wears upon him, this phylactery which grants him some divine power, but as we've seen throughout the past few months, has been of maybe a darker nature than other clerics that you would meet. It reacted negatively. It tried to flee, and in that, trying to take over Odysseus' mind, but due to his iron will and belief in the Khazralian might that flows through his blood, he shrugged it off. But it was at that time that a booming laughter of almost a fatherly figure came out as the statue itself moved. In that moment, Brother Thaddeus seemed to cast a divine prayer that kind of created a bubble of silence, maybe on the outside, inside, and the armor began to speak to you. And that's kind of where it laughed and said, it has been a long time since anyone has ever discovered this. And then we kind of ended game there. So we are going to pick up more or less right where we left off. But before we get into that, so we have these channel points. Can you guys just quiet down for a sec? We have these channel points where you can spend them to either give the group inspiration or player inspiration, or for a little more, you can give me inspiration, which I will likely use against them, or sometimes use for them if it is a role that an NPC is doing. But without further ado, let's start this shindig. So, you guys are in the Bastion. You have this, it's late at night, as you guys kind of took a time to walk off when it was more later in the evening. And Brother Thaddeus is with you, and this armor suit kind of holding the sword that Disbin has returned to it, steps off its stand. And it goes, ha, ha, ha. It has been a long while since anyone has discovered our secret. And Brother Thaddeus nods. But it is not strange that those who are coming in our footsteps would do it. Please join me in the library. And in that moment, you watch Brother Thaddeus begin to kind of say a prayer, and you watch as the suit of armor, disappears in front of your eyes. But you still hear a clank, clank, clank as footsteps are moving. You see Brother Thaddeus begin kind of touching strange runes and stuff that were kind of hidden amongst the statue's base. If anyone wants to make me a religion or an arcana check, they absolutely can.
For sure.
I'll say actually make me a religion or an arcana, your choice.
7.
22.
Gene, I got a 0.
First things first, for those who rolled religion, whatever he's doing is not of a religious nature. Kellen, though, you can tell that he is touching arcane glyphs that were already set into this stone, and it is definitely of a pre-made spell that just needs to be turned on.
Okay.
And as he touches them, springing up to where that statue was, is you see a perfect likeness that for a moment flickers like a hologram, and then it's just kind of standing there real. And Kellen, the thing you notice about this is the runes that he touched that were so subtle are gnomish arcane runes.
Ding ding.
And you know that there's a certain powerful gnome illusionist who you have much experience with. And Brother Thaddeus, you watch as the kind of after he does that, this dome around you, probably it's only 10 feet in direction, disappears, and he goes, "Well, Sir Disbin and friends, why do we not adjourn to the library?"
Sure.
Okay. Disbin's eyes are wide. His mouth keeps like opening and closing, like he wants to ask or say something, but he just cannot formulate the words. But he kind of, when the brother Thaddeus starts moving, he sort of just walks behind.
And Thaddeus gives you a knowing nod of like, this is not the time to speak of anything. We will speak when we have, like, you kind of get that, like, we're going to speak in a moment. As you all kind of follow Brother Thaddeus, again, Brother Thaddeus does not move quickly. He's an older man. He begins leading you back to the library, and it is empty. He kind of gestures you in, and he closes the door but does not enter. You hear some chanting on the outside of the door. It seems to be like a prayer of like, keep vigilance upon this door, so those not of true heart could enter. And again, you hear Brother Thaddeus, and you maybe see kind of a shimmer go over the doorway for a moment. But Brother Thaddeus does not enter you. After a moment, you see that one of the like library book walls, a book folds out of it, like pulls, and you see it slide and open up to reveal a stairwell. And you hear clank on stone, metal on stone. Though it is strange because the sound, like, you would think this suit of armor would make more noise than it is making. But it still makes enough noise that you can easily follow, but it is not as loud as you would expect. And you hear something descending down the stairwell.
The thing descending down the stairwell is not the suit of armor, or is the suit of armor?
If it is a suit of armor, it is invisible.
Right.
But so it sounds like the footsteps of metal are heading down the stairs.
Got it.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think we follow.
All right. As you guys follow, the hallway, the stairwell is dark, but the moment Disbin takes his first step on the stairs, two lights light up, and as Disbin descends about every 10 feet, new like continual lights kind of trigger. Specifically, when Disbin walks down this point. And eventually, you probably head 20, 25 feet below the earth, into this like definitely dry environment, and you see a large casket with the picture of like a knight on the top of the sarcophagus, like holding a sword very similar to the one that Disbin has returned. A very like the figure, like the face itself is like peasant handsome, like not fully square jawed, but like a strong chin with a beard. You see a scar kind of defining across part of the face, but again, it looks like it was healed well, but still there. And the suit of armor is a nice suit of armor, but it does not seem like it looks like an exceptional suit of armor on the caskets facing, and it reminds you of the armor that you saw the statue in. And there's a shield that, when you look at it, the crest on the front is the same emblem that Disbin's shield now holds. And the cloak cape that kind of is in the depiction of this matches a similar cape to what Disbin is wearing. And as you guys all enter, the lights kind of on the stairwell begin to dim and go out. The room is lit with these lights again. And you, standing in front of the sarcophagus, or kneeling, coming to visibility, you see this suit of armor holding the sword and kneeling in front of this sarcophagus. And there are like pewish benches and stuff around the edge. Like this is somewhere like people would visit like the mausoleum or like the resting place of Sir Garth the Strong. Though Disbin, you have never been here. But this has definitely looked like there's another entrance. You see like stairs, at the back end of the hall that probably lead up through maybe a cemetery, because you probably saw a cemetery on this property for like fallen members. And Sir Garth kind of his or the statue's invisibility wears off, and he's kneeling with his sword point down in front of the sarcophagus.
I think Dizzy's kind of stunned into silence and is sort of frozen in place.
Okay.
Otis will sort of look at Dizzy for a bit, like giving him the option of going first, and then when he sees that Dizzy is frozen, will slowly start walking forward towards the figure.
All right. As you kind of get within about 10 feet, the figure kind of, you hear the grinding of like plates and stuff as it places the sword on top of the sarcophagus and then turns around to face you. Facing you is this armored statue with an empty visored helm. You don't see any like pinpricks of light coming out of it. It's just like a closed helm that you see almost. You don't. Yeah, it's like it takes up a physical space that like you would assume is hollow because it's a suit of armor, but it moves like there's a person in it, and it turns to face you.
Greetings. I am Odyseth Grosh, Duke of House Diablex. Yeah. With whom do I have the pleasure of conversing?
He goes, I was a knight. I was a man who died. You may call me Garth. And I know of your forefather. And
And do you know of our quest?
I have been informed, and I see you wear my old gauntlets. And you get like, you don't see it, but you do hear like the sense of like a joy, a spark of like a moment of joy as the visor looks down toward your hands. I I have some inklings, and you did mention that if there was anything extra we could muster, anything great or miracles, that now would be the time. And I believe you told Brother Thaddeus, like me. So, let us speak. If you want to sit, and he kind of gestures to like the pews along the wall, or we can stand and converse. My tale is long, but I will answer your questions.
I'll sit.
Yeah, he gestures to the pews, or even on his honestly like his sarcophagus. He kind of like gestures to like wherever you wish.
I I have so many questions, but I recognized your voice. You spoke to me that night during the fire. I heard you. I don't remember what you said, but I heard your voice.
He nods. It seems like my cloak has carried some of myself with it. I would have. He kind of like looks over all of you. When you attune yourselves to powerful magic items, parts of yourself grow with it. That was my first cloak. That was not my first cloak, but when we went to fight Tenebris and the cult, I wore that. It was torn off me in one of my larger battles. And I think it was left there to be found by maybe you. I did hear a call in the distance, and I felt a pull, and when I heard your plea, when I it is hard to explain, but I heard in your heart your oath to help those in need. I heard you going back in to save the others. And it called to me, I guess my connection. And I knew that though Ne'ermore was forgotten and disguised, that I somehow, for a moment, I could pierce that veil. And I saw someone like me. And when you called, we came, because like calls to like. And now I see you, as I hear, the youngest member to be a full Knight of the Order. It makes enough sense.
Dizzy kind of bows his head just a little bit, and he goes and he takes off his shirt, and Dizzy's neck and most of his chest is horrifically burned. He has these really terrible. If you've ever seen people's skin that has those third-degree burns, that is most of Dizzy's chest. And on his shoulder, in the middle of those burns, there is like a handprint, like somebody put a hand on his shoulder in the middle of him, whatever flames burned him. And Dizzy kind of looks at his shoulder, and he looks back up at Garth. I know. I always knew someone pulled me out of that fire, and nobody could explain it. They said the building collapsed moments after I went in, and I guess I wasn't worried about living or dying, or I don't even know if I was worried about doing the right thing. I just knew that there was someone in trouble, and that they had they they didn't deserve this fate. Sir Garth, I don't know why I deserve mine. I've lived my whole life. If you would ask my goblin parents, they would say that I was a mistake. And I don't know what this is. And I look at the handprint. I've never known what it is. Is this you?
It is more than me. It is the oath we stand for. It is swearing your soul, your heart, your mind, soul, heart, and body working as one, swearing an oath, has power. Some rely upon the gods, some rely upon the Fae, some rely upon their draconic ancestors. But some swear oaths that are so deep and so true that they are a power in themselves. I was just a man, and now I am more, not to my own designs. And you hear a little bit of bitterness in that. But something called to me. I knew there was something more that needed to be done. I knew this threat. Well, I did not know this threat was not defeated, but something always did not sit right with how everything went down. And so I have been vigilant. I have been here for a long time because this is not my time anymore. I am from long ago. And
But you could inspire so many people. I've read so many of your stories. Part of our teaching here was founded off of what you have done or writings about things you accomplished, and you could be. I know that I was inspired by them.
but if people knew the truth of what has happened now, of where I am now, it would sully both my name and some of the great heroes' names. And that story would then turn that legacy into something that would not inspire those like yourself. Like I said, my tale is a bit stranger after the events that had occurred. But we can get into that later.
You wouldn't want your legacy to be lost.
I got you.
Dizzy puts his shirt back on, and he will kind of rubs the spot underneath his shirt where the handprint is, and he looks like he has more he wants to say, and there's a lot of emotions happening inside of him, but he hears Garth, and he will take a seat next to his friend Kellen, and look ready to listen.
But he looks to Otis. You are strange. You carry a dark power about you.
You are an animated suit of armor, and you are calling me strange.
I am calling you strange because what you wear upon your neck has the taint of undeath.
Mm.
I do not think you, as a person, since I barely know you, would be strange, and I've been to Kazralia. I understand at least many years ago. Century? He kind of like, you hear him like, century, time ago. I had visited once, and I believe you are normal for your people. But I'm not here to judge or know. But when I sense a darkness, it comes to mind. I know it seemed like it was that were repelled by myself. And I will say this, Sam, you also are hearing silence from the phylactery. It is not speaking, almost to the point where you feel its abilities are suppressed. But it is only when you entered this chamber.
Okay.
And I'll say if you want to make a religion check, I will allow that too.
Sure. 17.
You believe you're on hallowed grounds.
Cool.
As a cleric, you understand that, but you believe that this sanctuary, this sanctum, is hallowed, at least down here. But that is your story to tell if you wish, and I am not here to pry. But if you have more questions for me, I know that your quest to find the other pieces of power, the other heroes, or at least parts of their legacy to aid you, takes you different places. I may have some insight about Fogoratis, though I have not deigned to visit there for a long time.
We are at a distinct lack of clues and next steps. So any insight you might provide may be invaluable.
He nods.
I don't know how much you heard of our conversation with Brother Thaddeus. Do you know everything that's been discussed? I guess not to spurn what you and your companions did before us, but we sort of want to, and Dizzy really struggles, do better. I know you and your people sealed the darkness away. We're hoping for better than that. Destroy, banish, dispel, I don't know, but sealing it away, I think, was a stopgap.
I think the flaw in our ways, we could not figure a way to defeat it. We could only weaken it and lock it away. But I believe that part of that may have been who we were and what we believed in.
20 seconds.
The shadow always, or Tenebris can always find the cracks, can always find ways to get around rigidity. And I believe myself and my companions
5 seconds. 3 seconds.
had absolute belief. He kind of nods to Otis. You know of your founder, unshakable, the scaled will of a worm. My. He pauses for a second. Ralford, a great arcanist, could manipulate and reality and cast magics and spells beyond anything but absolute belief in that. Even Nolander, that little scamp, could make his beliefs, his illusions, partially real. Orwain, devout to his god, and had an absolute belief in that. Alanathan, she knew she was a protector of her people, of the realms. All of these people, all of our commonality. And of course, Nadia, though some would not call her the most rigid, she believed in her code to an extreme. I think part of it was we built walls. We built our cage based on our true beliefs, our power, what we believed could do it. And we left no room for flexibility. We left no room for adaptability. And so I think this primordial found the cracks. Maybe our arrogance as mortals, that we could trap such an ancient and, strange being, something that did not think like us, did not believe like us. So I believe part of it was we were too rigid, but also maybe we were missing something. There were only a few of us. And we all had different power. We all had different things we manipulated. But I have heard through the generations that there's a strangeness by the Great Fissure. Many travelers, wild people, swear they have heard that there is a great citadel that floats above the Great Fissure, moving to and fro, without magic, and some people forget they even see it. And I hear that there are those monks that travel the land, that people do not know where they come from. Their ways are different. They are strange. Some call them mages of the mind, but that is not quite what they are. And I think that, whatever that is, might be a partial key to this. If this is also a great primordial or something that can... Again, Tenebris is insidious. Tenebris gets into those minds, those cracks, those shadows. and we think that maybe there needs to be more. And I don't know, we don't know what that is. But I think that would be a location to investigate. I think that would be a place that might be something we were missing and might have more insight into this. But we've never been able to find it. Or I unfortunately
Was this not around during your time?
it was not as seen. It was not as known. It has only been recent that I have heard of these reports of not recent. Again, recent is a strange word for me. These reports of these travelers, they seem to know when people are looking for them. They seem to only come to those who have these strange gifts. And we have tried watching people who apparently have strange gifts like this. But maybe our guard, maybe our watcher falls asleep. And then when they wake up, only a few minutes later, the person they were watching is gone.
One of our friends, he has what did he call them? Kellen, do you remember? I don't know. He had mind powers. He could speak in our minds using his brain. I'm not sure what, but he could do things. He could create mental objects. I don't know what that power is or how he did it, but maybe that's what you're referring to.
It may in fact be, but I believe I am, unfortunately, I am bound, not bound here, but I believe that if I were to approach a place like this, they would sense me coming. They would, though people wanting to avoid others would not want one of my presence. But if you have a friend that maybe is connected, maybe they would seek you. Maybe they would be able to find you.
Can you leave this place?
Yes, I just choose not to.
You masturbating?
Well, thank you. That we were not aware of any sort of presence near the Great Chasm, so that is certainly on our list of places to investigate.
People's strokes gotta be on.
You talked about Ralford, and I know very little of the man, other than in the stories. You and him are always written as very close, almost brotherly. I don't know if he is still among the living,
He
but
is not. You can make
does he like
everyone can make
insight?
an insight check.
16.
Man, Roll20 does not like me tonight. That is my second natural one.
Funny.
Okay. With a 16, there's definitely, it was a fast, quick response, and there was definitely a disdain in what he said. Kellen, there is more to that. He is not just dead. There is definitely more to what he is saying. Almost to the point where you think, like, you know, there might be, like, he may exist, but not in a living form, as kind of Dizzy asked.
Okay.
You are written almost as brotherly. Our first thought before we encountered you, we were gonna head to his school and see if there are other wizards we could recruit to our cause to better understand Tenebris. if we could contact Ralford directly, which I don't know that we can, but would he have more insight into what's going on?
He may, if he were alive and available. Let us say that I have not seen Ralford in almost 200 years. I am not quite sure at this point. We did not end our last conversation on the greatest of terms. He was my brother, but I do not know what he is now.
I'm sorry to hear that, Sir Garth.
I am also sorry for what he did.
I. Eh.
Ask your question.
Is he like.
Ask your question. I am here to speak. I will hold nothing from you.
It sounds like you had a falling out, as brothers sometimes do. Well, I guess I had a brother, but he didn't treat me like a brother. More treated me like food. I've had siblings, and I mean, I guess I have a brother, and Dizzy looks off in the direction of Reggie, wherever Reggie is in conjunction to his location.
I mean, I imagine Reggie's, unless you left him outside, Reggie
Yeah.
would be with you. It's
No,
up to you.
Reggie's at my side always, yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of look over to Reggie, like, I do know what it's like to have a brother, and sometimes brothers fight, and sometimes you have to make up, but I don't know what happened between you, and I don't pretend to understand. I don't understand it, but this is this might be bigger than the two of you, and whatever was caused your rift between you.
Then let us speak of that, because maybe you will be able to understand. And that it is not my reason that he is how he is. So, it has been a few hundred years, I believe. Time is fluid. I should have died a long time ago. And I, in fact, did. I got into my late 70s, 80s, and I was an old man.
Gene, I had a character question. Are there writings of Garth's death?
Yeah, that he like died peacefully in the monastery, kind of doing Brother Thaddeus' role.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought. That he died here before founding the Oath of the Vigilant. Yeah.
Like no, he founded it. He founded it and like started the order, and he died kind of as a master, and then his predecessor took over, and so on and so forth. It's been it's been a few hundred years, not 1,000, but like 200 or at least 3. Like it's been a few centuries, which is pretty long for humans. And he goes, Ralford and I were thick as thieves. When we were young, we were adventurous, and we did these great quests in our later years, and we kept fighting the good fight. But after our encounter, after Nairmore, we kind of hung up our swords and hats. Ralford founded his great wizard tower, Fogaratis, to study and to teach, and generations of wizards that would learn. And I myself started my order. This understanding that the people needed help. The people needed those who could come in and help them stay vigilant. Those who could rout out corruption, so that so those who were just, those could be rightfully there, could be protected. But in our elderly ages, while I kept getting older, because I had no magics or abilities or honestly wants to live an extended life. I was happy. I was fine. I had children. I had families. I had grandchildren. But every time Ralphur would come to visit me, he would look exactly the same. Not an age, Not a single age. Maybe a salt and pepper just for aesthetic appearances, but he moved with that youth and spry. And though sometimes he would appear as an older wizard, if it fit his fancy, but I knew that his magics, his studies, were keeping him long, and I knew that one day we would part, and I was fine with that. I had made peace. I had lived my life. We had lived a life. He had his students. I had my order and my family, and we were good. And then one day, it was just too much. I had lived a good life, and I knew that my watch had finally ended. And so, laying, being prepared, Ralford came to visit me one last time, and he came with such a strange emotion upon him. It was a mix of grief and a glint of curiosity. And he told me that, well, we had discussed this, that it would come to a time, and I thought he was in agreement, that it was fine for us to move on, that he had his life and I had mine. But I could see that he saw something that I did not. And I swore an oath when I was young, before I started this. Like I said, an oath of mind, an oath of body, an oath of soul. And now, finally, my rest was given to me. My oath had been fulfilled. And so as I laid to sleep, to rest, my final rest, my friend did the most selfish thing that has ever happened, but in his eyes, the most merciful. When I passed on, and my soul was to go to wherever it goes,
For the next bowl,
he captured it
let's
in
have
a
all
gem,
Black Rangers stand in one spot, so they all run
as
to the same
some
spot.
powerful wizards can. And he figured that he would grant me another chance at life, so that we could live forever. We could continue our brotherhood indefinitely. He found something so close to me, so linked to me, my old armor, that they were going to bury me in. As he kind of taps, his hand goes across the sarcophagus lid, feeling the armor that he's wearing. And he apparently had been preparing this. He had been trying to figure out a way to keep me longer, to keep himself. I'm sure he figured out. As I said, he had not really aged, but he did not want to lose me. Our friendship kept him grounded. Our brotherhood kept us together. And I guess that besides his studies and his arcane abilities, that I was his tether, his anchor to this normality, to the material plane. And he did something unspeakable. And in that moment, Garth removes his helmet. And inside his armor, you see all of these ancient runes carved through in like a ruby dust. That kind of like, just
On
like
the inside of the armor?
on the interior of the armor and helmet as he kind of rips it. And there's nothing else. Like, there's no body. It is an empty suit of armor, almost like Elric style, with just ruby dust runes engraved and sigiled all throughout it. As he kind of like bends his head down for all of you to see.
Do these runes mean anything to me magically?
You can make an Arcana check, and I'm going to tell you this. DC 20 to get a little information, 25 to get more, 30 to get the most.
Okay.
Whoa.
It's a 20, and I'm also going to do a flash of genius to make it a 25.
Okay. It is the most complex magical workings you have ever seen. You can tell that since he mentioned this, you know that there's some sort of spell called like a soul jar, where you could take someone who died and capture their soul as they die. And it looks like this ruby that was used for the soul jar spell was then ground down into a ruby powder and engraved to make this suit of armor kind of the host for the soul. And not only that, that the armor itself was masterfully enchanted before even it was turned into this living thing. So this is an incredible working of magic that defies life and death itself. It is almost a mockery to the divine.
It's not necromantic, is it?
It is definitely necromantic.
Okay.
100% it's necromantic. But it's like mixed of like necromancy with like an abjuration that kind of like confines and controls the soul from leaving. And then you also notice that there's like some divination mixed in that maybe blocks divining. It seems to like be an incredible working of magic. And he kind of continues his story as he puts the helmet back. But unfortunately, this would not be the worst if it had only affected me. But in casting this magic, a great curse was put upon Ralford. He was punished by my fulfilled oath, as he tried to break my oath that was fulfilled. And he went a little mad and became... He kind of like struggled for a moment. He became an arcane being of undeath. His body was ravaged by a curse, a backlash to this incredible spell working. I believe it is called a lich or lichdom, and I'm unsure. But I knew after that moment I could not stand the sight of him. I could not stand the thought. As he betrayed me. He betrayed my oath. He betrayed my beliefs. And I know that it came from a place of goodness. I know that it came from his heart to save his friend. And so part of me wants to forgive him. But there is so much more that I cannot. I know that after that moment, Fulguratus went under some changes. I believe the tower has become secluded. The wizards that trained there are strange, afflicted. I'm not sure with what, but they have become secluded, gathering and hoarding this knowledge and magic to the point that no one has been able to enter Fulguratus itself. Though if anyone were to be able to, I think there might be clues in the Cumulus Conclave, the Cloud City above it. Or, and he kind of takes a moment, he looks to you, Otisesh, and he kind of, a hand moves over to you, and he taps your gauntlets. I believe my good friend Ralford is also sentimental, and maybe had hoped that one day we would reconcile, and that there would always be a back door for me to enter. So maybe, kind of looks to Dizzy, puts a hand over the cloak and just kind of like gestures with it. Maybe you all might be able to get in. where others can't.
Where are we on the map right now?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
Bastion of the Strong
Bastion
still.
of the Strong.
How's the best
This is a Cumulus Conclave is down here.
from your
Yep.
So that is the the short version of my tale, I guess. I think I would be ready to speak to him again, but he has not left his tower in at least a century or two. Finding him and talking to him, I do not know how that would. I think there also might be something wrong with him. That maybe you could all get through to him.
Is it safe to say that Kellen wouldn't know anything about liches or anything?
I think with a 25 Arcana, you're kind of like you've been sitting here kind of thinking, and maybe like you remember grabbing some books and maybe like you peruse some stuff in some libraries. I mean, yeah, I think you would know that mortals, very powerful arcanists, through a magic would be able to turn themselves into a lich, but they would generally need a phylactery that they dedicate their magic to.
Okay.
You don't know how someone would be cursed into lichdom, because generally it is a thing that you do to yourself on purpose. But, I don't know. You're not a
Okay.
wizard.
Yeah.
True.
Was Norm involved in the making of your armor?
Oh, no. And you feel like the mood of the room kind of shift. He goes, back in my days, when Ralphard and I were traveling, and again, this kind of seems a little more boisterous. We were working for the Baron Sir John Renwick. He sent us because apparently the rivers through Stravend froze over. There we encountered this ice people who their nails grew beneath their feet, and so they could move across the ice very quickly. And he sent myself and Ralphard to investigate and maybe try to figure out how to unfreeze the rivers. And there we met, and he begins going into this tale. We met an ice king and an ice prince, and we had to fight some of their corruption, and eventually we learned out that it was a bit of some arcanists and elementalists were messing and created a fissure that opened the plains to ice, and Ralphard was able to cleanse it and close it and send these people back. And as a reward from this, the king of these people gifted me this suit of armor. And he goes, and he kind of like, he taps his heels, and you see blades come from the bottom of the boots, like ice skates. And then he taps it, and they shrink back in.
In my opinion, rabbits are the worst.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that tale. It sounds like Ralphard may be unreliable, but if he's been accumulating knowledge all these years, I can't imagine he skipped over how to defeat or destroy Tenebris. I can only imagine that, if he's a wizard of power and repute, as the stories go, he's probably kept working the problem even after,
Agreed. It also seems like our only lead.
But he's more than a wizard. He's a creature. He's undead. That makes things very different.
Why?
I mean, I guess, but if he still has his mind, I know that there's the curse, and I don't know the nature of that curse. Obviously, we can't know how that's affected him. But if he still has his right mind, he can be reasoned with, right?
Well, I wouldn't assume that. But if there's a curse, then there's always a likelihood that we can remove it and perhaps bring him back to his old self. But that is beyond my knowledge. But I had access to the libraries there. If we could convince the people that we're there on a good cause, or maybe the sentimentality that Garth mentioned, perhaps that would give us a chance for me to research and see what we can be done.
He nods. He goes, I believe you may be able to, if you could convince one of the Fulguratus wizards to allow you in, or found a door or a back door in. I think if you could get to Ralford and he was, you may be able to sway him with mentions of myself and bring him back if he's on the brink. Again, I know that he was cursed and I know it did something awful to him. Whether that is both physically and mentally, I could not tell you. I have not seen him in so long, and he has not come here in so long either to even attempt to visit. Like I said, we ended on less than stellar terms, and he, let us say that I struck out in grief, and it was calamitous. And you see him look at his sarcophagus, and you hear a sigh even though he doesn't breathe. Everyone make me a perception check.
$19, I'm on fire.
17.
Otisesh and Kellen, he is looking at a sword. So the sword that he was holding over his like chest and the sarcophagus lid. And he just kind of like he like strokes his hand against it. And I'll say with a 19, because Kellen, you got a 19, make me an intelligence check.
That I did not do very well. I rolled an 8.
Okay,
If I could flash genius it, I can make it 5 more.
you can add 5 to it with Flash of Genius, and you can also add double your proficiency because this is going to be a tool proficiency check.
So it's 13 plus another 5, makes it an 18.
You look at the sword, and at first you thought was the sword that Disbin gave him, matches it. You realize it is of a different design. And in fact, you think you've seen pieces of that sword before. And you recall Disbin finding, or at least acquiring, some shards of a blade, a hilt. Maybe not a pommel, because he found that somewhere else. But you may have seen items like this on Dizzy in his pack. That looks like maybe pieces of that same sword, or at least the hilt and its crosspiece could be similar.
Isbin?
Yeah.
My memory isn't always the best, but you seem to have a very good one. Would you take a closer look at this piece here? And I'll point to the sword. Does this look familiar to you in any way? Something you may have had in pieces?
I examine the sarcophagus that he's pointing out.
Yeah, and now that you take a closer look and you look at it, you have pieces that seem very similar to the sword that was like that he would be holding across his chest. That is not the sword that he has.
Hold on. Wait a minute. And Dizzy begins rifling through his pack, and I will take out a number of things. I take out the pommel of the ancient sword, the hilt and crossguard, and I believe I have a shard like the tip as well.
Yep. I know how many pieces there are.
Yeah, I take it all out and I kind of lay it on the top of the sarcophagus to sort of match them up.
Okay. As you lay it on, kind of placing each piece, it looks like it is missing the tang of the blade into the lower part of the blade that would like go through the pommel fully, and it looks like there's a big middle chunk of the blade that, or maybe the tang goes all the way, the full length of the lower blade goes. So you're missing probably about, since you have the tip, you're probably missing about like 2.5 feet of the sword. It's like a long sword. I don't know how long. Swords are like 4 feet or like 3.5, whatever. But yeah, you're missing like a large section of the middle, and then the piece that would go through the hilt and pommel and like screw in like the full tang of the sword, so that it could be fully assembled.
Sir Garth, is this yours?
He kind of looks down. Huh. Yes, that was my sword. But no longer. But when I was brought back and the curse put upon him, again, how I told you I was repulsed, I struck out with my oath sword. And because unfortunately, though he was an undead abomination, he was still a true friend. It wounded him deeply, but it shattered and blew. I do not know how far. There was a large explosion, both arcane and divine, and I thought that meant much of this was lost. He kind of like he puts his hand on the hilt, and like he kind of like lifts it up, and the pommel seems to go with it, even though it has no blade. And when he holds the hilt pommel together, a blade of light, where it should be the full blade, appears like a sun sword, but it matches the same image of the sword on the casket. Huh. And he kind of, no, it does not feel right. And then he puts it down, and when it releases from his hand, the pommel piece kind of like falls off because it's not attached to anything. And he just looks down.
Perhaps if we find this missing piece, that would help us in our search to break the curse.
I mean, it may even be embedded in Ralphard somehow, or with him. I do not know. Again, when I struck with this, an large explosion happened and he disappeared. But some of my members of my order believe they saw him, or that there was a hubbub at Fulguratus. So something had occurred shortly after that.
It feels strange to take another person's sword, especially your sword, Sir Garth.
He just shakes his head. It is no longer mine. I have tried to strike my brother with this sword. I have sung the sword in malice and not righteousness. I do not wish it. But if there is a time that you find it, I would be willing to help you reforge it.
Dizzy looks down, but he looks a little depressed, but he'll scoop up the pieces and put them back. Sir Garth, I never, all that time I spent here training, I imagined what it would be like to meet you and to go on adventures with you, and I never imagined that you were here the whole time, and I imagine you have your reasons for staying hidden to members of the Order, but I think it may do more good than harm to let them know your presence. We idolize you, Sir Garth, and to know the Watchman, as we like to call you, the one who started
It makes you an honor.
the Watchers, you know, who wrote the Oath of Vigilance. I think it would mean a lot to us if you were known. And I think it would mean a lot to Ralford if he knew that you were willing to talk.
Well,
If you have an item or something that we could present to him,
I think you have what you need.
okay.
But I hear your words, but I do not think that is true. If I were to still exist, I think it would make others not feel like they need to step up. I worry that they would believe that the age of heroes is not for them, that this is not their age. But no, when we are successful and we are confronting the primordial, I will be there, ready to reveal myself again, to rout out that true corruption. Again, you know the order. We must stay vigilant, and when the time is right, we reveal ourselves. But it has been a long time. I, I think the time is approaching, but I do not think it is current.
Dizzy bows like he understands the wisdom and just sort of agrees.
Is there anything else you wish of me?
Do you know the safest or fastest way to get to Fulguratus? There's much trouble on the roads.
Safest, I could not tell you in these troubling times. I heard of your attack, and I believe that if the cult believes that you are rising up and attempting to defeat them, since at least some of you are known, I think you will be harried. I would suggest maybe passing through the capital of Shrevend, Castle Grim, and then heading to the southern. There's a small town or a large farmland town a bit south of it, and then that would take you to the most direct path toward Fulguratus. But I would warn you that in the open land, as the plains shift to the desert, if you stay close to the water, you will be near a bay that Freeport has access to. And I heard that through your travels, you have made some enemies of them. So I would worry that if you are close to the coast, they may try to target you if they have not already started sending parties. Travel by horse. I unfortunately do not have the ability to work great magics that would allow you to travel fast. Maybe if you get Ralford's assistance, his wizards can provide you a faster means once they have scrolls and magical items of power. And I know that he kind of like looks you all over. I imagine you all carry magical equipment, or have, if you have any excess of magical equipment that you are trying to trade or sell, the Cumulus Conclave has a robust market. And especially with the Fulguratus wizards there, you may be able to get upgrades or trades that could be of value to adventurers such as yourselves.
This shield and emblem, and I take my shield off, and this cloak, again, Sir Garth, I understand that your adventuring days may be behind you, but it feels strange. I want to honor you because I think that you are someone worthy of that, but These are yours.
Those are the equipment of a man, Sir Garth the Strong, but he has died.
Very well.
No matter what I am now, I am no longer him physically. I may have his soul, I may have his heart, his mind, but I am this. And he kind of like gestures at this suit of armor. I do not have a need for other things. And in fact, I never really did. And living like this has taught me that I am different now. I am not what I was. But I can still help. And I can still, when the time comes, be ready. And I can still pass on my teachings.
Yeah, getting closer, so yeah, I'm gonna clear the whole thing. I think we've won time.
Um, I don't have any further questions. I don't know about you two.
I believe it is time to go.
He nods. He goes, find yourselves rest for the evening. And if you wish to leave in the morning, we will provide horses. And you should be able to, at least, if you want to ride fast, you should be able to trade horses at Castle Grim, and also trade horses at the farmlands past that, the town before you hit the plains that lead into the desert. I would warn you, you should pick up supplies when you get to the capital. You will need desert clothing. You will be dealing with strange heat that is not natural to the environs.
Is it obvious what he means when he says the capital? Is he talking about Grim? Castle Grim?
Yep, Castle Grim. Yep. You will need desert outfits. You will need water. There may be I believe the Plains Edge town there, depending on if you are lucky, there may be travelers who have traveled in and out of the Fulguratus area in the desert, who may be able to who have camels or caravans that are heading that way. It gets very hot. This desert was not always a desert, let us say. So, it is a strange place. Magic is strange there. It is connected. It is the closest you will be to the elemental planes of air. So, you may see some strange sights. And there are trading caravans and nomadic people who live there. But there are also strange monsters that you probably have never encountered.
We thank you for your wisdom and your support on our journey.
Well, good luck, and if you need to speak of anything of your burdens, as he nods to you, Otis, I would be willing to try to help you.
No, you can't rest while it's on unless you put stones down first.
And he just kind of gestures, if you seem like you guys are like wrapped up, he goes, you may leave through the library. I will have to eventually make my way back to my stand, but I'm going to spend a little bit more time down here. Anyone is welcome to stay.
I think I'm going to stay for a little while, if that's okay.
I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, I would also sort of nod and then leave.
Okay. You guys kind of make your way back up. It lights up, and you head up toward the library. Is there anything you'd like to do, Rennie, while you're down here?
I'm going to be honest. I mean, I imagine this is kind of quiet contemplation is what he's looking for in this time. And I think for a good amount of time, Dizzy sort of joins him in that. Garth being alive, being involved in saving his life, and Dizzy's kind of putting a big puzzle together and rearranging reality because in his mind, Garth was dead and a hero, but now so he's kind of doing that a little bit. And I think after some time and some thought, he just goes, he kind of looks up, Sir Garth, I don't know that you need to hear it, but I think that I need to say it. Thank you. I've only I am only here, and by here I mean alive, because of kindness others have shown me. My family
Sunshine?
and Dizzy sort of struggles with how much to say or not say. They never showed me much. And even though that kindness wasn't there, I guess it lived in my heart. And then when it was shown to me by
Like stand
my
up,
real parents, the people who raised me,
pick a spot. Those ones in the back are expensive to leave.
I understood that
I would come over here.
I understood that kindness was the key to
Pile run to us.
everything. And I think without your kindness to start it off, I never would have found it. So, thank you.
There's a pause, good like 30-second pause, and then
So,
he goes, "Thank you. Without your strength and courage, I would have stayed where I was. But I felt it. You reminded me of why I started this. And you brought me back from many years of being idle. You gave me hope. And you gave me a reason to be vigilant again.
uh,
You and your friends. And this is why you also. This is also why I need you to bring Ralford back. Because though what he did may have caused pain and anguish between us, but maybe he did it for the right. Maybe it was right. What if, because of this form I am in now, we can finish the fight that we failed to do? And so, I have missed my brother, and I have missed my true friend. And maybe through your kindness and your valor, you will reunite two friends who had lost their way.
Oh man,
And he just kind of gives a silent nod, and he'll throw up the hood with the the blue hood, the vagrant hood, and Reggie will fall in line next to him, and he will leave
As,
Garth to his musings.
as he's walking, he goes, "It looks like you lost about 3 feet of my cloak."
Well, I'm about 3 feet shorter than you, so it worked out.
oh my god, there's
And,
so many of them.
and there's a chuckle, and you move on your way. And I think with that, why don't we take a 15-minute break, just a kind of bio break, and then we'll kind of wrap up the Bastion and then see if you guys are leaving or what you're doing after that. And then I got stuff to talk to Otis about when we come back.
All good stuff.
All right, we'll be back at 9:10.
Cool.
All right, we are back. So, kind of as Dizzy is doing his thing, Otisesh and Kellen, you ascend the stairs. Otisesh, the moment you reach into the library, you hear the like hissing pain of Severax. That place was anathema to us.
We needed the information.
He, you get like an acknowledgement, but he goes, though I was suppressed, whatever was that creature had incredible necromantic power,
Not mid-fold.
though somehow existed in that holy sanctum.
Alright, come on. Come on.
You're saying what suppressed you was not their holy power, but necromancy.
No, I was oppressed by the place, but I'm saying that armor is incredibly those runes I have seen before.
Yes.
Perfect.
Where?
Send it out.
You feel kind of like a warmth in your chest, like where you wear the symbol.
And who has the knowledge to craft such runes?
Only the most powerful of necromancers. That suit of armor. Make me a persuasion check as you feel him begin to pull back like he doesn't want to say something.
7.
Never mind.
Are you jealous?
You if you could feel the great worm's eyebrow cock raise up, I will remember your insolence. And it goes silent.
Continues walking. He's not.
Yeah.
He's going to do everything possible to not make it look like he's not just going to like stop at the middle of
Oh
whatever
yeah,
he's
no,
doing.
no.
He's going to
Uh,
keep doing this.
As you guys get through the library, the door, as you two approach the door, you see a small shimmering barrier kind of begin to fade as and Brother Thaddeus enters the library. Well, I hope your studies were good.
Yes.
All right, and you know where your rooms are. And he kind of goes, I have some duties I must do," and he heads into the library.
Well, Kellen will go to his room and start reviewing spells, figuring we'll probably be leaving sooner rather than later, so I just want to make sure I have all the right ones.
Okay, and I'll say, Otis, make me a history check. This is kind of like your archaeology stuff. So just roll it.
Natural 1.
Perfect. Honestly,
My
honestly,
rolls today have been terrible.
it's okay. You're like, you feel like a lot of weird shit has happened recently, and this is also the most that your object has spoken to you and also been referred to out loud. So a lot has happened for you today that maybe your mind isn't so clear. And you kind of be underway. After maybe like a half hour later, Disbin eventually joins you all, and you guys all arrive at your room. Some of you studying, some of you doing whatever you're doing. Let me know if there's anything you guys are doing.
Um, when Dizzy comes in, he'll start to get undressed and get ready for bed or whatever. And there's going to be a moment where he stops and he goes, "Hey, hey, Otis,
Let's go get some crabs.
Mm.
I don't know,
Margarita, sir.
I don't know a lot about you, and I think that that's by design.
Wait, I want speed.
But
Give me the speed.
the person that I look up to the most in the world said you had a hint of undeath on you. I'd really like to know what that means."
Mm. Prior to leaving the kingdom, my profession, or my charge from my house, was to be one who would explore and study ancient ruins, artifacts, battlefields. That can keep one in dark places. Across dark things. And sometimes those things stay with you.
I understand that there are dark things in the world. I need you to know I trust you, and you you've been aligned with us, and you are I'd like to consider you my friend, but I need you to know the oath that I took is about weeding out corruption. And I don't think that that applies to you, but if there's something wrong, I'd like to help.
The term
If I can.
corruption is very open-ended. But I can assure you that my intentions are to rid this world of the Great Plague, as did our forebears. And I have no ulterior.
I hate to be this guy, but can I make an insight check on that?
I mean, yeah, make an insight check, and then Sam roll persuasion or deception, your choice, but you don't have to tell him what you roll.
I got a 15, Sam. I'm not going to look at roll 20, so if you want to put it in there.
It's fine. I just rolled persuasion. He's not trying to lie, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you for being honest, Otis. I I really do appreciate it, and I'm happy that you've come this far and that you joined us in a strange place far from your home. I know that that can be daunting. We're actually not that far from our home, and Disney looks like to the east-ish. We're actually only, yeah, I mean, a couple of dozen miles, but still, I can't imagine what it's like for you being halfway across the continent.
It
If you ever
is,
need to talk to,
of course, being strange so far from the homeland. But as I said, my trade is in exploring old and dangerous places. I do not live a comfortable or passive life. even within the borders of the Empire.
Bracers if you need them. Yep.
This is no.
Yeah, you're not exactly a.
More than this.
All right. Well, you're not exactly a passive person, so that kind of makes sense.
Generally it's 70. Or above.
If you ever want someone to talk to, Otis, I know maybe you're not a big talker, but me and Kellen, we're here. Just know that, okay?
I am aware. I appreciate the gesture.
All right. Bright and early tomorrow.
Indeed.
And Dizzy does like a big hollow stretch,
All right. As you
and I
guys,
will bed down.
you guys all bed down for the night. You all have a successful rest, and nothing disturbs you. You awake in the morning bright and early. You get a breakfast, and as you all kind of gather up your things, you kind of head out to where you first entered the monastery, where you dropped off your horses, and you see that there are two horses with saddlebags and other stuff, and they are loaded to the brim with supplies. At least a week or two of food and other provisions, and then Reggie is given small saddle bags as well, where the stable master he has this large saddle bag that looks like it's for a horse, and he goes, Master Thaddeus wished for me to give this to you, Dismond, for your steed.
Oh, what is it? It looks a little big for him.
He says that if you they are saddlebags, but he guaranteed me they would work for little Reginald.
I mean, who am I to question the wisdom of Master Thaddeus? Thank you very much. Is Thaddeus around, or is he tending to his duties?
He is about. Generally, at this time of day, he's generally in the gardens. He likes to take a morning stroll.
But Dizzy gives the yep, that checks out kind of nod. Well, thank you kindly, and he will take the proffered saddlebags, and he'll kind of look at the saddlebags, look at Reggie, buddy. I don't know how this is gonna work, but we're gonna find out.
So as you drape the saddlebags underneath the cavalier saddle, they shrink down to fit over his size. And Rennie, you can add a Heward's haversack to your equipment that is specifically
Very
designed
cool.
for a mount, and it is loaded with weeks worth of provisions and drinks and water skins.
Oh, Reggie, they even put in doggy treats.
It does have animal treats.
Very cool, Gene. Very, very cool.
And
Yeah.
and I'll say this.
Yeah, I
sorry.
okay, sorry.
They are of an older leather that is well polished and well used. They have seen many a journey.
All right. Hey guys, listen, I'm ready to head out. I just want to check in with Master Thaddeus before we go. He is the head of my order, and I should just yeah. I'll be 5 minutes, and I kind of hop on Reggie's back and I'll kind of ride towards the gardens, and I'll be like, "Hey, Reggie, sniff him out."
Yeah, within moments, you head up toward the edge of the gardens, and you see Master Thaddeus has like a small trough and like a watering pot, and he seems to be doing basic gardening work.
I also imagine he's like sun hat too.
Oh, very
Uh,
large sun hat and like just yeah, and just in robes on the you see his sandals on the ground where he's like dirty kneed, like digging certain areas. But yeah, he looks like he's doing some basic garden
Just
tending.
let me die. I thought it was asleep, dude.
I kind of like I clear my throat very loudly.
He goes, I knew you were here about 2 minutes ago. I heard the panting of Reginald.
That was me, actually. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Um, Listen, Master Thaddeus, on a more serious note, me and my companions are going back out into the world. We are going to pass through Castle Grim, I believe,
Yes, the
and then
capital.
onto the desert. Um, I wanted to know if there was anything of the order that you needed done throughout our journeys. Obviously, I will keep my eyes and ears open to any corruption or anything that where people might need me. But I don't know if there's anything specific that has come past your ears or eyes.
Well, there's nothing specific, but since I know your next destination should be Fulguratus, I know there is a large inlet that Freeport occasionally uses to get toward this land. It almost borders the desert. So I would be careful and maybe sniff out any issues you have
Pushing the back.
when you get to the conclave. A lot of the traders and travelers who make their way, there might be some unaligned agents, not of the cult, but there may be cult activity there. So I think your next step would be when you head there to look into that. Besides that, I believe, I mean, keep your eyes ever vigilant, but I believe the capital and I believe Plains End are fairly. We have a close enough agents there. You will find less agents or less knights the further you go from our kingdom, but know that there are a few in Pentos and some in the Verdant Sea. But they likely will, and even some in Forge Home, you may be able to find, but they will be likely undercover or out of contact. So, or have not had contact in a long time, but they have a way to report if anything is necessary. I will, but I believe your quest is currently greater than our needs. So I think you need to focus on figuring out what you all must do, and that will serve the order the best.
A minute and change.
All right. I thank you, Master Thaddeus. Watchful always, and I will
He nods to you, and
hop back on Reggie and
he goes back to digging. All right, so you all saddle up. Um, you are you are each given a writ, which essentially is just like a writ of travel through Stravend, so the humanoid kingdom you will, especially you, especially our dragonborn friend, so that if any like messengers or guards or government are like, whoa, what the heck is this? You have a writ essentially from the bastion allowing your that you are being escorted by a knight of the bastion of the strong, and therefore have what authority that Sir Disbin brings with him. So you kind of have like you work a little bit outside the law of the Order of the Vigilance, and you know people kind of like respect you, but like you're also they generally don't want.
People in the community.
Yeah, they don't really want the Order of the Vigilant having to poke around. That is bad for business, but you guys kind of have a little bit of leeway outside of normal government channels. Yeah, he goes. Remember when you are when you are in the capital, it has a decent marketplace. I would say look for desert wear. They may have some things. It is going to be, and then when you get to Plains End, if you can find a caravan or group heading toward the desert that have more animals that are appropriate, as horses are not the best animal for desert travel. But be safe, yeah. And so you guys kind of, as you guys gather up, you have enough supplies to at least get you to the Castle Grim with a few days. And so if you resupply there, you could then resupply at the other town, and then get enough stuff to be ready to go to head into the desert for how long that will take. You're guessing that I forget how long your travel was, like 3 or 4 days, I think, from Draven's Rest to get here. I forget how long it was, but this is definitely to get through the humanoid kingdom will probably take about a week or less, depending on how fast you travel, and then getting from the Plains End all the way to Fulgurad is probably another week, but who knows, or a week and a half. But again, who knows if how the desert temperatures and movement will be affected, since you guys have never been here. This is just a place that that you guys have never traveled to, so you don't really know how desert travel works, and like shelter and stuff. But yeah, you guys have that. You guys all gear up, and you head your way out. Is there anything else you guys want to do?
I don't think the non
Maybe we should.
capital.
Maybe we should find a desert guide, right? Like some sandy-haired nomad person who can guide us through the sands.
That would be something we want to do in the capital, right? When we're closer.
Yeah.
Do you think capital or even Plains End, which is the last town before you start heading to the desert, will probably have more people? But you might be able to find a guide in the capital. That place is huge. But yeah, so you guys begin your trek, and I think that's a great place for us to end this evening, which is you all kind of ride off, toward the sun as the sun is rising, and you are heading toward your next destination.
Into
All
our
right,
desert adventure.
it's your eventual desert adventure. So thank you guys for playing. Thank everyone for watching if they are, and if you're not, are also awesome. But great. But I'm glad we had a good time tonight, and everyone have a good night, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll have another game. That's the plan.
Thank you, Gene.
Yep. You're welcome, and have a good night, everyone.
Bye.